Why did they start integration with schools in the 1950s, 1954 to be exact? If Caucasians were always a part of our world, why did they integrate them with us in the 1950s? Why didn't they create schools initially for themselves? But when you realize that the Caucasian schools were set up by black people, by the Moors went around the world and they set up schools, education, colleges to teach the world. Wait a minute, if the black people founded all the buildings and the education initially, why did they wait till 1954 to incorporate whites in black schools? I think I have the answer to that question. For a lot of these white people that we see in American land are not real people.
Excuse me, everyone, I have a brief announcement to make.
They are clones. You see, Star Wars, and everybody loves Star Wars, is a reference of Tartaria and advanced technology in the past. You realize there was a clone war, right? They won the war when the clones started showing up. And then you realize that the good guys started getting less and less. It's the same as it is today, where we have more clones in our world than we do real people. And this timeline that I'm about to show you, it all adds up and it all makes sense. Because now we have to understand that slavery did not happen in the context of which they teach us. For they have to teach us that white people owned us so that way they can add and create their history. If Caucasians have always been in our world and has been organic to America, right? Then why is there a peak as far as them coming to America in the late 1800s to early 1900s if they've always been here? Damn, their peak of coming to America is only a couple hundred years ago, if that. Then it makes you start to question, well, how is your history so rich in America if you've only traveled here a couple hundred years ago? And if you guys are technically immigrants and foreigners, then that means we had to integrate you into Black American society. And so the history that you teach us about America history, you really don't know it because you have not existed long enough to actually know it compared to the natives that's always been here. All of this ties together because, right, slavery never existed on paper. We were never slaves. We were just enemies of war once they infiltrated our ranks silently. Also, this is about to trip you out because black folks, right? We know this was our world first. We know this was our technology first. We did not need identification in our world to define who we are as an American because being an American is an adjective describing us. So you could look at us and you can say, hey, he's an American, or that person's Indian. They didn't talk like that because they didn't speak English. He was American, right? Even the Spanish, because obviously I showed you guys the maps of Mexico being the entire United States. That's a whole nother topic. But when you realize that Social Security cards and driver's license and IDs didn't start till the early 1900s to 1936, roughly, that's still in the same timeline as the Holocaust, right? The baby boomers, right? The orphan trains, right? And all of these big migration of white folks coming to a black world. And so all of this comes together when we integrated with Caucasians, or excuse me, when they integrated with us, it was our downfall. Not only did we inherit curses from the Bible, right? But look at our people now. All of our resources wasted. People hungry. Jail systems. All of that was designed when they came. They don't feel the anguish of our children filling up prisons simply for material goods, right? Simply for a quota on paper. When a lot of these people are not human. Y'all gotta really listen to what I'm saying. It's not about black and white. This is literally about good versus evil, right? Because these AI avatars, right? Because this is what they are. Avatar clearly showed us everything. We were in water before we were out of water. This is where our brains come from, but I don't want to deviate. But this is how they trapped us. They trapped us with identifying who we are. We didn't need paperwork to identify us. They needed paperwork to identify who they were. You see what I'm saying? This is how they were able to track non-human, or should I say non-mankind people in our world, right? The hell, we need an ID for it to say we're American. You could tell by my skin color. Oh, you're European American, which means you're white, which means your genetics is Caucasian, which means you have Neanderthal blood, which means technically you could never be American because that is an adjective describing a certain person. No offense. This is just the reality. So your forefathers changed the name of to Mary, changed the name of Mexico to America purposely so that way non-Americans can call themselves American because it's in the name of the land that they currently live because their forefathers took it over through war and disease and other grotesque things, along with stealing, of course. So you guys stole and took lives to be here while theoretically your lives are not real. Your lives are carbon copies of those that you've taken lives of, or at least your ancestry are carbon copies of those that they have unalived. And if we put all these timelines together, you will realize not only will there never be a baby boom of Caucasians again, it's because they were clones. They all migrated here at the same time. The Men in Black is real. You gotta pay attention. Go back and watch that movie. This was our world before it was their world. So they found a way in order to integrate Caucasians, integrate aliens that live amongst us. Not only AI flesh as far as the Caucasian, but also marine life, reptilian type of beings that could potentially live amongst us that came hidden through the refugees of war, which trickled down into us, taking in millions of non-human beings that they then integrated in our world to make it seem like they were in control of us, when the whole time we got reversed and they took our roles. And the organic ones, they perished so that the inorganic ones can live. And this is why we got to stop following them. This is why it's written. This is why their ways are demonic simply by nature. Is because their origins are unclean, right? They're not 80, 90% water like you are. They may say it, act it, but they're not. Because they're not going to tell you the other percentage of animal that's inside of them, the Neanderthal, which is a primate. They're not going to tell you that they evolved from monkeys, while you, black man, are organic and is a true descendant of a true God. You are the image of the Most High. They are the carbon copy of our minds. And so we have to understand that that's why we are the biggest target, black men in America, is because we hold the roots so close to the Most High. When they see us, they have to really realize that the Most High is in these people's image. So it wouldn't be far-fetched that the Most High looks like one of these men here. because you are unlike anything else in this world. And once you realize that those amongst you aren't real, or they're carbon copies of your ancestors in the past, it'll start to really make you feel a type of way. Lab grown white children around America around the same time, lab grown people hatched from eggs, right? Cabbage Patch Kids, go look that up. They were all being dispersed around the same exact time. So, if this so called great migration of Europeans that came in our world, right, dispersed in our world all around the same time, including the Holocaust, where they made us believe a story. If you believe that this group of people exist and that they are refugees of war, okay, I feel sorrow to be able to bring you into our country, into our nation, right? But by doing this, you allow clones to be able to live alongside us. If we believe slavery existed, then we believe that clones took us over and had us as slaves. This is why they don't give us the right information. Because when we read the book of Yaqub, when we read Black American culture and history of the past in ancient Egypt and ancient technology and spaceships, helicopters, and lasers to be able to cut uncuttable material, that is all Black American. But you don't know this history because they got in front of your history and gave you their history because their existence is only a couple hundred years old. Caucasian history does not exist to the fortitude at which you think. And so it caps your mind, it caps your future because your past has been augmented by lies. We have been infiltrated by non-people, or should I say non-mankind, because these people that came off them orphan trains, they are considered human hybrids. A human is a hybrid. It's not a man, it's a human. It is a altered man because the originals are mankind. And we come from the ground, we come from the universe. They come from our technology. They were the slaves first. We designed them to do our work. That's why they have a percentage of our DNA cloned with other animals, because they were the lesser genetics used to originally be the slaves. But they got in front of our history because our brothers in leadership gave them the keys to our secrets to control us. My job is to give you those keys back